right. Good evening. This is the July 28th version of Detroit in Black and White presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown. And most of you were expecting to see Santil Jenkins, the candidate for mayor in the city of Detroit at this time, but due to a mix-up in scheduling, today is her husband Carl's birthday, so she will not be on today. She has rescheduled graciously for next week at this same time, 8:30, and you can join me next week with her for the interview the day before the actual election, actually. So being able to pivot on a moment's notice, that's how this stuff works in the media. I was able to reach out to my fraternity brother as well as my 100 Black Men of Greater Detroit chapter brother, Mark Elzey, who is the vice president of the 100 Black Men of Greater Detroit. And he is also chair of the health committee, which this evening's broadcast will focus on our event coming up this Saturday called Community Fund Day, Man Up for Better Health Fair. And that will be held on Saturday, the 2nd of August, over at the historic People's Community Church on the west side of Detroit. So without further ado, I want to thank you, Mark, for joining me this evening on such short notice. Think about 3 hours ago when I reached out to you to see if you were available, and you graciously agreed to come on the show to talk about the event this Saturday. So give us a little bit of background about yourself and then talk about the Man Up event.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. That's what we do. First as Kappa Man, but also as members of the 100, we just learn to pivot, and you find these opportunities. The saying goes that if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready. And so when you called and said there's an opportunity for me to slide you into the presentation and to the show, I said, then I'm ready. So thanks for having us.
So, all right, and let me right quick, Mark, let me get a shout out to some of the viewers, and I only see them on YouTube. I think you sign on to Facebook, so you might see a different amount of people that are watching on Facebook than I see on YouTube. But welcome this evening to a regular Kenneth Powell. Appreciate you joining me this evening. Edward A regular Jill Sheraton, and Mr. 1213, who ironically last week, I think Monday it was, his actual 1213 came out straight in the Michigan 4-digit lottery. Don't know if he played it, but it was a number last Monday.
That's funny.
So give us a little bit of background on how the Man Up event started, your participation with it, as well as your participation with the 100. How long you been a member and all that?
Sure.
You can leave out the alumnus of Cass Tech part.
So you do notice that I'm sitting in a green chair, right? I'm always going to support my green and white. But so been with the 100 since just about 2010. That puts me at about the 15-year mark now. I started as a result of a mentor of mine, a gentleman by the name of Bill Toples, who was one of the leaders at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, which is not only my employer, but that's also our title sponsor for the Man Up event and all of the health and wellness events and activities that we do as the 100 throughout the year. So was basically through that relationship with Bill Toples, wanted to get involved and find out where I could plug in. And he said, absolutely. And health and wellness is going to be it for you. So here we go. Fast forward 15 years. And I've been chair of health and wellness for about the last 5 years, and co-chaired health and wellness for 5 years prior to that. So long history with health and wellness for 100 Black Men of Greater Detroit. This Man Up event and our commitment to improving health and wellness for men, particularly men in the Black community, goes back prior to me joining the organization. So I'm going to say that it probably dates back about 17 years in total. And it all started out as an initiative between the 100 Black men of Greater Detroit, the members, the leadership, senior membership at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, wanting to move the needle in the Black community and engage to ensure men were engaging in relationships with healthcare providers. And that's really how this all came about.
And with that being said, I did see a flyer. I think it was on your page, your Facebook page. And welcome to the show, Miss Sheila. She's a regular as well. And I saw, I think 2016, 2014. What's the date on the flyer? And it's always been in August. And tell the audience the significance of it being the first Saturday in August.
Yeah. So rest his soul, Luther Keith. We lost him earlier this year. We formed a relationship with Luther Keith and the Arise Detroit team when they approached us, I'm going to say about 10 years ago, and said, we always have the Arise Detroit Neighborhoods Day on the first Saturday in August. And he said, we would love it if you could take the health and wellness arm of the events, because there's events that take place all over the city in and around the first Saturday in August. And so we were honored to do so. We enjoyed a long relationship with Luther Keith and Arise Detroit. And in his honor, we will keep our commitment and keep that dream alive. We will continue to do this good work on August 2nd to be a part of Arise Detroit's Neighborhoods Day.
And you leading this initiative, what has it meant to you? Because you are also an employee of Blue Cross Blue Shield. I guess it was a perfect fit, as well as the fact that you are someone that's very serious about health, particularly that of the Black male. And I think people fail to realize that there are so many things that we're at the bottom of the total pole at, just like I found out today, which I was kind of surprised that only 1% of Black men hold a PhD in the country. I thought it would have been more than that. I do know only about 1.3% of teachers in the classrooms are Black men. That's not a surprise, but healthcare and the significance of Black men being afraid to go to the doctor or just taking care of their health. So what has been a part of this meant to you? Because you're so involved when it comes to this Man Up event. What has it meant when you see people show up on the first Saturday of August every year?
So I want to back up and address one thing, because you said that when it comes to statistics that you always see that Black males are at the bottom of things. But one thing is where that is, one time that is not true is when we're talking about chronic conditions. And we are always at the top of the chart when it comes to the higher percentage of chronic conditions. And so that's the thing. That's the reason why we have to make these changes. A couple of other very interesting statistics. 40% of Black men will not reach the age of 65. How many times do you log into your Facebook or you go on to your social media and you hear about yet another friend and another classmate and another, associate, another family member, not quite 65, that for whatever reason has that just will not go on. Life ended at that point. And so we're talking nearly half, 40% will not reach the age of 65. Wow. According to the American Cancer Society, the leading cause of death among Black males was or is heart disease, but they account for 24%, followed by cancer. Now, for men, that's the things that you can most easily manage and work around these days is prostate cancer and colon cancer. People are often afraid of both of those because they think that they have to have an invasive examination in order to be diagnosed. There are more people living with prostate cancer and prostate cancer and colon cancer today than ever before, and that's because the technology and the advancement so thereof. So when we talk about prostate cancer, right, the first test is a blood draw. It's a PSA, and
Right.
it does not necessarily have to require what would be called a digital rectal exam, or where there would be a more invasive procedure. And then in terms of the first step in towards the diagnosis of colon cancer is basically taking a Q-tip and dropping it in an envelope. A couple other steps there, but non-invasive. And you drop it in an envelope, you ship it off, and you have a healthcare professional do an analysis there. So we're talking about, Eric, ways that are very easy to either catch these things early and get on some course of correction and treatment to turn it around.
And what's interesting about the colon, the worst part about the colon screening is drinking that stuff. And I heard it has gotten better. Mine, 2 years ago? I did one 2 years ago. Yeah, that's the worst part about it. And I tell people that's the worst part about it. Then you just have to suck it up for that 24 hours and just go to business. Because once it's over and done with, and as long as you're fine. But like as you stated, Mark, medicine is so advanced right now that even a prostate cancer screening is a lot different than it was for maybe our fathers and grandfathers. Yes. And even the surgery for those that may need it, there's a very sophisticated surgery that's done robotically now.
That's right.
So so there's so many things that people were fearful of that they have no reason to no longer be fearful of, because everything is so advanced technologically and everything else. So they have taken a lot. And I heard the stuff that they give you to drink tastes a lot better now for those that are going for the colon screening.
Well, nothing tastes as good as water, but I guess, any movement towards a better taste is a good move, Right. But to your point, there's a high probability that each one of us is going to have to face some sort of cancer diagnosis. That means one in 3 men in the course of your lifetime will have a cancer diagnosis in your lifetime. But 42% of cancers are preventable by eating right, staying active, and not smoking.
Smoking.
That's right. And the thing that we talked about is the fact that more men are living with cancer than are dying from it these days. 3.3 million prostate survivors are walking this earth today.
Wow. And I'm not sure if you can see the comment, Mark, because I think you're on Facebook. If you can't see the comment, Mr. 1213 is asking a question to what you just stated. It was ironic that the question came up as you were giving some statistics. He says, do you think that more men are going toward a holistic approach to medicine and health and healing than conventional medicine? What's your opinion on that?
Don't have any statistics around that. My plea to Black men is to engage a health professional, period. And from there, if that means that the person that you trust to get your medical advice and guidance from is through, holistic medicine, so be it. But I don't have any statistics around whether there's been an increase in men tracking towards that approach or not.
And I'm not sure. I can't remember the name of his company. I'm not sure if you know Jesse Brown. He's a graduate of Eastern Michigan University, and he has a holistic brick and mortar business, I think, over on the west side. And that's his business. So of course he swears by it. But it's interesting that Mr. 1213 asked that because you do have a lot more people that believe in holistic medicine. So that's a good question, Mr. 1213. And thanks for joining us also, Mr. Duckett. And yes, thanks for doing this show. I plan on going to get checked out. And that speaks to what Man Up is all about, because we want people to go get checked out. And also tell the viewers about some of the organizations that will be on site, because we are doing this in partnership with Integrated Health, correct?
That's absolutely right. So Central City Integrated Health is our provider that will be our community partner at the event on August 2nd. It's going to be held at People's Community Church. So if you need to jot down the address, I'll give it to you a couple of times in case you need to grab a pen. But it's 8601 Woodward Avenue on August 2nd, and that will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central City Integrated Health will actually be, Mr. Duckett, be performing on-site screenings. And then there will be follow-up work. When I talk about on-site screenings, we'll be checking blood pressure and your vitals, all of that sort of stuff. We can have conversations with you about vaccines and dental care. One thing that we know is critically important in our community is our necessity to deal with emotional and mental health issues. And they'll be on site to help walk us through those as well. So screenings of all sorts will be available at the Man Up event that's going to be held at People's Community Church on August 2nd, 8601 Woodward Avenue. And we'll be there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And guess what, Eric? We're going to turn this into something that's fun, because we'll start off with fitness activities. Team Angie's Fitness will lead us off with a warm-up, which is always a lot of fun. She does Zumba and kickboxing and all that sort of stuff. And she can meet the people where they are. So if you're not a professional boxer, or if you're not a professional Zumba dancer, that's all right. We can get you started. And Angie knows exactly how to engage the crowd and work the crowd and teach you techniques that will work for you to get started. And after she completes her warm up, then we'll do a walk and a run. Now, some of us aren't runners. I'm not a runner. We have one of our members in the 100, Kwesi, who is a big runner. And so he and I often talk about the fact that, you can go on and do your thing and I'm just going to walk, because there's just as much value to your health in just going for a nice, comfortable walk on a daily basis. So we'll do a walk, we'll do a run, and our friends with the Grace Riders will lead a bike ride as well and take a nice tour through the city on bikes. You got to bring your own bike. We don't have bikes available for people to use, but you can rent bikes at a variety of places around the city. Those mogul bikes are available for rent, and grab one of those and join us for the ride. And that again will be leaving at 10 a.m. on August 2nd, this Saturday. And the weather forecast is looking pretty good too.
Yeah, it is looking very good. And I'm putting the name of the church as well as the address up on the screen right now. Again, that's the Historic People's Community Church over at 8601 Woodward Avenue, Detroit, Michigan. And how long is the bike ride? I went on a bike ride with the group. You see, this is 25, so it had to be either 2 or 3 years ago. And we went all the way down. Well, we went all the way downtown to the, what's that thing called? The Dequindre Cut. And it came back, to the church, which was a nice little ride, but it was worth it.
Yeah. So first of all, let me say that it's a no-leave ride, which means that no one will be left behind. So the ride organizers, and they are professionals. They've done this for hundreds of bike rides. They know exactly what they're doing. It is led by the Grace Riders, and they have done a ton of rides. So they know how to manage a no leave ride. So if you're concerned about the ride being too long, Eric talked about leaving from Midtown going to downtown. Really not a very long distance, but if you feel that that's a little bit intimidating, they may be able to arrange the route so that they circle around the church, let you get in a mile or two, and then drop you off before they go in. So they know exactly what they're doing. So don't be intimidated by the distance. But if you're also one of those gluttons like I am for distance,
but you're a rider though.
Yeah, I'm a glutton for distance. So if you tell me to show up for a 2 mile ride, I'd say, well, I better find a way to get some extra miles before I get there, because I can do 2 miles without any really strenuous activity. So if you're one of those people, then just join us and we'll figure out ways for you to get the additional mileage as well.
And I appreciate you, Kenneth Powell, for the reminder to have the viewers like, share, as well as subscribe to the Detroit in Black and White channel. In addition to that, Mark, you mentioned that there would be vaccines. What vaccines will be given? Because you have 2 comments from viewers with regards to COVID. No COVID vaccine, thank you. That's from Miss Sheila. And then Kenneth Powell, I think it was, echoed her sentiments. That's right, Miss Sheila. So what's your what vaccine will they be given on Saturday for those that want it?
So for those that want it, and to each his own, but for those that want it, the COVID vaccines will be there. I can't tell you which brand that they'll have, but the other thing to consider is the fact that they'll be doing screenings. So that might mean that there is a COVID diagnosis that you might get there, and then they can put you on a course of treatment to deal with that. So it's the screenings piece that is the big piece, and that will be, we're talking about screenings for all of your chronic conditions, and screenings for things like COVID or other ailments that might be a threat to your health.
And I appreciate you, Edward. I'll put your comment up in a minute. Edward A says he's an older Black male and he fully supports this event on Saturday. And then there's a comment on the screen right now, Mark. Can you see it from Part Org? And thanks, Part Org, for joining us this evening.
It's talking about why physicians aren't being honest with their patients. So let me just make it really, really clear. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. And so I cannot respond to that question nor that opinion. I'm not equipped to provide a medical response to that.
And to that point, Part Org, you could come down to the event on Saturday at the historic People's Community Church at 8601 Woodward Avenue. And Integrated Health, which is a healthcare organization, they will be down there, and I'm sure they will have some of their doctors there as well. And you can ask them, Part Orgs, about their perspective with regards to the question and statement you just made with regards to the monoclonal antibodies and how to treat colon and prostate issues, rather than explain what they have been exposed to regarding PFAS contamination. So that's a question that you can ask one of the healthcare professionals on Saturday if you come down to the event between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturday. And also on the flyer, we have, as far as the health education, you touched on that. Talk a little bit about the entertainment as well as the, complimentary food. It used to be supplied by the church, but this year, I forgot Maurice's catering company, but he will be providing healthy sandwiches as well as, fruit and drinks for the participants free of charge. So it's free. We feed you as well at this event. So you come on down and, make a 4 hours out of it, or just, come by for an hour or two, show your support, and we will be glad to see you.
Yeah, so in terms of the entertainment will be provided by Detroit's own Tandem Entertainment, well-known DJ group. in the city of Detroit to do a number of events. And this is on the heels of a big event that they just did this past weekend. There's also
It looked like that
going
was
to be,
packed. I seen some pictures, Mark. I was like, wow.
yeah, yes, indeed. And we also partner with them on a health and wellness event last weekend as well at the Miracles Foundation, Motown in Michigan. No, Motown in Motion. Motown in
Yeah,
Motion
Motown in Motion.
was the name of that event. Great event last weekend. So, so music will be provided by the Tandem Entertainment. We're going to have fitness demonstrations though throughout the day. We'll also have CPR training. Did I mention that already? That
No, you did not.
free CPR training. Yeah, free CPR training throughout the day will be provided, and there's also going to be some cooking and nutrition education. Lots of community partners that will come out, like Blue Cross Complete and the American Heart Association, providing valuable information there as well. One of our partners runs a organization that's called the Men's Locker Room. It is a diabetes prevention program, not a diabetes management program. It's a diabetes prevention program. It's called the Men's Room. Really, really engaging and educational process, and it can be a support group, if you will, that manages on a regular basis. I actually went through one of their courses just so that I could, be familiar with it as I preached about it. And it was very, very educational for me to go through that program. So lots of stuff to learn, fun stuff. And it's all related to us just trying to become healthier and live a healthier lifestyle as a community.
And two other providers that would be down there, healthcare providers, is the Michigan Institute of Urology Men's Health Foundation, as well as the Michigan Department of Community Health. And I saw, Detroit Motep Foundation would be down there.
Yeah, so the Detroit Community Health Connection is Brother Derek Ware is the president. He's also a distinguished member of Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated. And he will be there with his team to provide some education. We have a great relationship with Michigan Institute of Urology. Dr. Lutz leads that outfit, that foundation. And they're also the ones that are responsible for the big men's health fair at Ford Field. So we're appreciative of the relationship with them as well. And all of this
I appreciate
the thing I just really
appreciate all you're doing. Mm-hmm. Appreciate all you're doing for this event, and very informative. Again, for those that are listening, share the information with your family and friends, particularly your Black male friends. Again, it is the Man Up Community Fund Day for Better Health Fair that will be taking place at the historic People's Community Church in Detroit at 8601 Woodward Avenue, a little bit north of Midtown. So, any last thoughts, Mark?
Yep, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan has been a great partner of ours for well over a decade, going on 2, and they are a title sponsor. So shout out to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And I was going to ask you, Eric, is there a way for us to take a digital copy of the flyer and post it so that your listeners and viewers would be able to retrieve it from either Facebook or one of the other social media platforms that you're on?
Yeah, I'll have the this flyer sent to our producer of the regular Detroit in Black and White on Wednesday, and it would be on the program on Wednesday as well as Friday.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me too, Eric.
Oh, no problem, man. It's already on my page. It's also on the 100 page. So those of you that follow me on Facebook, you can see the flyer on my page. It's on my Instagram, I think. If not, I'll put it on there, but I thought I put it on there earlier. But again, I will get the information to the producer of the Detroit in Black and White so they could put it out on Wednesday and Friday.
Free and open to the public. We can't emphasize that enough. This is not just for 100 members. This is for the public, and it's absolutely free. No one at any one of the tables that you will visit at our event will ask you for a dime.
Right. So again, thank you, Mark. You're gonna stay on stage when I let you go. But coming up next, I have Detroit mayoral candidate Attorney Todd Perkins, and I will be speaking to him about a few issues as well as his candidacy. So again, thank you, Mark, and Kenneth Powell says salute to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening. And now joining us, he was there. I'm sure he'll come back in a minute. Is Attorney Todd Perkins. He's a candidate for the mayoralship in Detroit, Michigan. Hey, how you doing, Attorney Perkins?
I'm doing well. You know, I'm actually trying to move over onto my laptop, so to connect there, because I think it'll be better. Because if you've noticed, I've been it's been in and out a little bit. Can you hear me well?
I hear you. I hear you just fine. Yeah, just fine.
Okay. All right. No, but I still will try to transfer over with a seamless move, hopefully.
All right. And while you're doing that, I want for joining me this evening. And a few things I want to get right into before you give your spiel on why you want to be mayor. And this might give you some fodder to talk about why you want to be mayor. But over the last couple of weeks, crime has been a little bit crazy in Detroit. And then in about 4 weeks from now, we will be getting the M-Step test scores.
Yeah.
And that has been a contentious item for a while. But in addition to that, Detroit Free Press ran an article yesterday about the superintendent who is the face of Detroit Public School Community District, but his kids don't even go to DPS. So I'll ask you about your feelings with regards to that, because in my opinion, I just think that's a bad sign that if you are trying to convince others to come to your schools, but it's not good enough for your kids, that just seemingly would put a bad taste in most anyone's mouth.
Well, I mean, you could look at it that way. And hold on a second. Okay.
Okay, you should be good now.
All
oh,
right.
You're on mute. Oh, there you go. Yep, you're good now.
Am I good?
Yep, I hear you loud and clear.
Hello?
Oh, you can't hear me? Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay, I can hear you now. It was a delay.
Okay, yeah, about it. Yeah.
So let's get back to it's okay that I undid my tie, right? It's 9 o'clock.
Oh yeah, you good.
Okay, all right. Because something for you. I've been trying to get on your show, so I will come as required. So don't worry about it. I'll button back up if we had to do so. But I something what they say, if you live in a glass house, you don't throw stones, right? So
right.
my son went to U of D high school. I went to U of D high school, but I went to Detroit Public Schools up until the 6th grade. And then my parents sent me to U of D high school, and there was really no other place that I was going to send my son other than U of D high school because of my experiences there.
Right.
So, and if I'm going to finance and pay for my son's education, I would think it would be I wouldn't want my daughter not to have a chance, and she's not in Detroit Public Schools either. But again, I'm not the superintendent for Detroit Public Schools. So the very fact that his kids don't attend Detroit Public Schools, I understand the optics of what it is. I just, my thing is, if I can afford to send my kids somewhere else, or I'm willing to pay and sacrifice some aspect of our household budget to send my children, that's what I've done. So, and my children haven't been in Detroit Public Schools, but if, part of my story and part of my journey has been, when my son turned 6 years old, his mom, my wife, who is now, she passed away, she ran the house. Yeah, it's part of the journey though, and I, right. She is gave me two wonderful children. And when he was turning 6, she told me that he was not going to go to Detroit Public Schools. And, so she said, you figure that out. I mean, I'm not going to figure it out. She's the educator in the house. So, and, she used to be a social.
She said when.
Right. And so then she also, in the same breath, said that she didn't feel safe. And we lived in a great neighborhood. We had just invested a lot of money into a great co-op. It was beautiful. And when she said that, because of what she allowed me to do, it was really no pushback by me. I love the city of Detroit. We moved to Grosse Pointe Shores, and we moved there for quite some time. And my kids were, for their lower years, they went to Grosse Pointe schools and then Catholic education, and my son UOD, the high school, and my daughter
Jesuit education.
Yeah, Jesuit. That's what I say. I'm a man for others, and my daughter's a senior at Detroit Country Day. So, I just felt it would be wrong to send my son to private school and not my daughter. And she's learned to love it, and she loves the school, and she's a senior now. And my son's at Howard; he's a junior at Howard, and my daughter wants to go to Howard. Yeah.
So before we get to some of the questions, because questions are coming in already, I mentioned the crime situation, education situation, and then I get to one of the questions that is on the screen right now. But from your perspective, why do you want to be a Detroiter? What made you decide to say the time is now for me to throw my hat in the ring for that position?
Well, I've always wanted to see the prominence of the city of Detroit. I love this city. Having gone to school outside of the city and outside of the state, very easily I could have been like a lot of my people that graduated with me and people my age who went to school out of state. They stayed out of state. I did not. I came back, and this city, as much as I love the city has loved me back. This is something that I might have done earlier in life, but my kids were too young. And, I've always looked at what you have to give of yourself. You would be taking away from your household, taking away from your family. And, given my loss, my wife passed away in 2016. My kids were 10 and 7. And, at 10 and 7, there was the only thing I wanted to focus on was raising those kids and trying to feel, as much as I am unsuccessful, even as of today, to fill that gap that was left, that hole that was left from the past of their mother. I couldn't see myself going into politics, and it was enough just continuing to run a firm, the law firm, even though I had reduced my hours. And so now, my son's junior in college. He's actually working for the campaign. My daughter, she's going into her senior year in high school, and she's actually working and doing some volunteering for the campaign. My nephew, who's at Texas Southern, he's home for the summer. And he's working for the campaign. So it's a family event. And we're Detroiters that want to see great things happen in the city of Detroit and continue, what we see as momentum. but it just needs to be directed towards our neighborhoods, and it needs to be directed in towards areas that, you know, are thirsting for change, development, support. And, you know, because, you know, it's sort of incomplete. You know, it really is an incomplete story just to have some nice looking buildings. And, you know, the idea that Detroit is a great place to come and party and eat, you know, that's, you know, those are good things to draw. And tourism, that's a good draw. But what, you know, the day-to-day, the people that kept this town open when no one else wanted to be here, those are the people that need to be the focal point of my administration.
Right. And I appreciate the HBCU love. I mean, I started my college career at an HBCU in Alabama, Talladega College. I can appreciate your son and your nephew and your daughter wanting to go to an HBCU. With that being said, I mean, I've always been a fan of yours. My mom used to work for the court system. One of my mentors, who's no longer with us, Cal Jackson, you know, he just thought the world of you. So with that being said, I undoubtedly feel you are a very formidable candidate. And let me lead into the first question from one of the viewers, Mr. 1213.
Mm-hmm.
And can you see the comment, the question?
Oh, okay. I see it. It came across the screen. Yes. The long-term goal for the city of Detroit. Well, the long-term goal is the recreation and the redevelopment of our neighborhoods. That includes safer neighborhoods. That includes better education for our children. And, you know, and I know you know, so I don't want people to know that, you know, I don't have the cheat code, but I know education is a big deal with you. And it's a big deal with me. Because here's the thing. You and I sit in the positions where we sit because we have an education. And that's it. You know, my mom and dad, they used to preach about, you know, how you can take yourself out of the situation that you're in. And it's only education. And, you know, my mom used to always say, they can take anything away from you. They can take your money, they can take your house, but they can't take your education. So, so education and housing and economic development in our neighborhoods. That's the you know, that is the goal for the city. And once you get that right, Mr. 1213, then you are going to make sure that they're married with big business, married with downtown. So access and a pipeline for kids coming out of the neighborhood to go into business downtown, to go into these big businesses, to go work for these companies. And, you know, it's a Detroit first mentality. So there's a lot that needs to happen as far as how we perceive and see ourselves. That's one of the things. Those are the sort of intangibles about what you want to do. You want to inspire people initially. You want to give them hope because, you know, it's a lot of, you know, despair. You know, if you're in the community, you see a lot of people that are just dialing it in and have given up.
And with that being said, you mentioned the word marrying education with the business community, the philanthropic community. What's your stance on, because it worked successfully in New York, there are other cities where the mayor runs the education in their city. Mm-hmm. So, you know, various levels of successes. And I am 1% in agreement with you with regards to your mom's statement, because I tell people all the time, you can lose anything, your house, your job, your marriage, your car. But the one thing that people cannot take away from you is education. I mean, that's one of the main things I always put emphasis on when I give speeches about literacy and education. So with that being said, what is your take on the involvement that the mayor and or city council should have in the educational system? I know that the school board is elected, the school board selects the superintendent, but there is such a disconnect because as education goes, so too will the city go. So what's your take on a task force or taking over education? I mean, something needs to be done because it makes no sense that Detroit constantly falls in, you know, standardized tests. People say what they want about them, but it makes no sense. Detroit continues to fall at the bottom of the totem pole year after year after year after year.
Well, there's no more profound words than what you just said. You know, I say it like this. I say Detroit is, or education is the sine qua non of the future of the city of Detroit, meaning that without that, without education, there's no future. Because if we don't wrap our arms around these kids, there's nothing there. You know what I'm saying? I'm 55 years old. Do I have another 20 years worth of work? I hope so. I don't ever want to retire. Maybe I have another 30 years worth of work if I keep my health and keep working out and keep running like I've been doing on social media. But these young people, they have to know, number one, that we're there for them, that we are their support. We're not there to denigrate them, but we're here to assist them because, you're looking at starting them off at pre-K and all of those things. But also we have a lost generation. When you talk about these test scores and you talk about people who are just, there's a lot of people out here who believe, and I've seen it where a lot of educators have told me that people are just being passed to qualify and satisfy benchmarks. And that's not acceptable. So we have to wrap our arms around them. So getting back to, and I don't want to stray away from your question, you said, how does the mayor play a part in that? Well, right here, right now, based upon the law, it would have to take a change in the law to do that. I'm not afraid of any challenges. I look forward to challenges because any challenges or problems are just opportunities to get something right. That's how I've looked at it as a lawyer. That's how I have to look at problems. Everyone who comes in my office, who comes through that door, regardless of the scale, the size, or the type of problem, it's a problem. They don't come. Every now and then I get the people who will come and bring their kid down and show me that they got all A's or that they graduated. And, I like to take a picture with them. And that to me is, that's like community right there. So, but how I see it is that the mayor must be an ambassador for the schools. The city has to start providing more services for these schools. Anything that overlaps that we can provide, that we can assist them in providing, we're going to do it. Like one of the most important things, because like I said, safety is number one, education number two, but with safety, they're all intertwined. Because with safety, you have to make sure these kids are safe going to school. That stops kids from going to school when they're not safe. The presence or the direct or indirect experience with violent acts creates a precipitous decline in academic performance for young people. It just does.
Right.
And education, and so we have to have safe routes to school, safe routes to our rec centers, safe routes home. So all those things that you have to have. But so as a mayor, I want to make sure that we're providing additional technology. And what we're going to use is we're going to use our rec centers that used to be open. We're going to get those things back open. We're going to get, there's money. There's money out there to do it. But we're going to infuse these rec centers with technology, access to internet, because some of these kids go home and they have no access to internet. How are they going to be able to compete with other kids? Not only that, we're going to lobby for more dollars for these kids so that there's no disparity in the amount in which they receive from Lansing. So that's something that is absolute in our development, because we're not developing as a community. We're only developing one aspect of it. And, we're not going to be a one-trick pony. That's not a community. A community has all facets and all things and all people at mind. You got to be Detroit first. Detroiters first, period. And it's long since that we need to be championing that song. You still there? Hello? Was that me or you?
No, I think it was me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was me.
Okay.
All right, you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right. And one of the things I want to move over to crime, but before I move over to that, remember the forum that was over at WC3 with James Dixon, Karen Dumas, and Charlie LaDuff. And one of the most interesting things about that, and I had a front row seat. I was actually in row number 2 behind Karen and Charles and James. A question was asked by everyone on the stage that if they were not running for mayor, who would they vote for? You had 2 of the one previous, one current city council members mention yourself.
All right.
And ironically, one of the persons did not get her name called. At that moment, what did that make you feel like when that question was asked and you had previous politicians say that they would vote for you?
It was a level of validation. I was appreciative of that. I've been working in this community as a practicing lawyer for over 28 years. And as an individual who's been working in the community my entire adult life, doing more philanthropic things and doing community outreach and working for the Democratic Party. So from a perspective of my life's work, it really felt good that that I got that pick, so to speak. And the reality is I represent a lot of them, right? I represent a lot of people. I represent Detroit City Council. I'm their as needed council. I'm the city attorney in Inkster. I'm the former city attorney in Highland Park. I represent Wayne County. I represent Detroit Public Schools. I represent the sheriff, the Wayne County treasurer. The Macomb County prosecutor, and various different jurisdictions and municipalities throughout Southeast Michigan. So I believe they can appreciate that I understand, when I'm talking business, I'm not only talking legal business, but I'm talking about the application of what that means and the significance of what that means for our community. So it felt good. A long-winded answer. I'm sorry, but it felt good.
Oh, that's okay. And before I want to, welcome Derek Henry to the show, as well as looks like ZRDW. Before I move on to the crime issue, let's finish this one question about schools and education. So Derek Henry is asking, what's your stance on charter schools in Detroit?
I'm a person that has an affinity for Detroit Public Schools. And let me tell you why. Even though I didn't graduate from high school, I had the benefit of going to Detroit Public Schools. And again, I know Cass Tech and Renaissance. I know them folks out there, they champions themselves. And them people from King, so, but everyone knows academically how good a school U of D is, right? And how challenging it can be for the academy. So I left Hampton Elementary at 6th grade. And oftentimes I've seen kids who leave public school and go over to U of D have to start off on remedial classes. And sometimes, to catch up and get up to speed.
Right, to catch up, right.
But the Detroit Public Schools back then, not only myself, but the 8 or other 10 people who left Hampton who came over there, we all did well. There was no lag in our ability. It was no lag in our performance. So it represented to me what kind of quality education that Detroit Public Schools put out. I mean, look at the people that have come out of Detroit Public Schools over the years, from the economists, the lawyers. And so, they're still producing, don't get me wrong, but This is throughout the school system. So I have an affinity for Detroit Public Schools. The problem that I might have, or the problem that I do have with charter schools, is the regulation of policy and procedure. They don't have people who are certified. There's no requirement in some of those schools for certifications, and benchmark, be able to have benchmark and standards relative to their ability to teach, their qualifications to teach, whether it be administration also. So, that is, it's almost like the Wild West in some respects. And I'm not saying that for all of them, because there's some good charter schools out here.
Right.
I just believe that the same standards that apply to Detroit Public Schools should apply to the charter schools.
And we could do a whole show on education and charter versus traditional and all that. But I'm going to move on. I went to bed last night to breaking news about a 6-year-old being shot and killed. I woke up to breaking news about 4 people being shot at a gas station, one of whom was killed. What is your stance on, and I don't like using the word fixing because I don't think crime can be fixed, but what is your stance on reducing crime in the city of Detroit?
Well, it requires attention. It requires attention. We can work on numbers and reducing numbers, but we can't pop our collars and say what we've done. You've got to continue to be at it. Our society, I'll give you an example in the Perkins Plan. I believe in a more community-oriented policing, but I also look at bringing preventative services to our community so that we're preventing the idea of crime happening, helping people with impulse control, helping people, educate people about gun control, about, the things that really are at the core of this, giving young people opportunities that they're not finding right now, whether it be to recreate themselves or opportunities for employment, educational opportunities that are going to take them to the stratosphere. So there is a multitude of different things that need to happen. Along the way, you have to have enforcement. There has to be a penalty associated with it, because some people are only going to operate or do right when there's a penalty. But I don't think that's for the most part. Also, you're going to have some, I believe that strongly that every 911 call doesn't require an officer to come and approach that scene with his gun and weapon drawn. We need mental health advisors, professionals. Right. We need social workers working within the police department. Now, they do have some, but it needs to be expanded. So as a mayoral candidate who has more experience than anyone in the totality of what it is that I'm talking about, where you have James Craig over here who touts himself as the chief of police, but yet he had a 44% close rate on homicides. I mean, I really wouldn't be screaming about that.
Right.
But, I've known both sides, having representing cities and administrations, and, even having represented the chief of police today, but then also representing the defendant. Because, when you represent defendants, you don't just represent the defendant, you represent the defendant's family. You're representing society, and you're requiring the prosecution in that adversarial relationship, you're requiring them to put them to the proofs. But, it doesn't escape me every time I do a case. In the cases, a lot of my practice is not criminal today, but I still do criminal work. And it doesn't escape me that on the other side, there's a person who was hurt.
Right.
And whether or not it was my client is the issue that we go to court for. But as a man of the community, I pray for all these people. And I'm looking for solutions that are going to come about by making sure that we redesign our police department and build our police department to work effectively geographically. What I mean by that is, I'll throw this at you. You can agree, as well as I think everybody out here can agree, there's a different type of policing that happens at 6 Mile and Gratiot than what happens in Palmer Woods.
Absolutely. Oh, no doubt. Right.
So why do we have the same policy of policing throughout the entire city? It's ineffective. It's not working. And clearly it's representing itself in these numbers. And I really think we're only talking about these numbers right now because it's an election year and the incidents, because these are things that have happened. We've just become so raw and so, calloused that we've accepted these things. And now this is the result of having accepted these things. You understand? So
Right.
That's what I want to make sure that, and policing is going to be built with the community involved. Our Perkins plan and the redesign of our entire community, district by district. I believe that the districts suffice in breaking us up and keeping the diversity that happens within each district. Like there's portions of Southwest that are predominantly Latino. Keep that. And that's what the richness of our community is. One thing about it, I applaud them. They had Chinatown. They're trying to bring back in the Cass Corridor. I say the Cass Corridor because it's always going to be the Cass Corridor.
It's always going to be the Cass Corridor to me too.
Forget the Midtown. I mean, Midtowners can have what they want, but I'm going to, when we talk, we go back and forth in the conversation and they know I'm right. It's the Cass Corridor. And, they had Chinatown and they're trying to bring that back. So, developing our community from inside out. So you're going to have the neighborhood organizations with a seat at the table. You're going to have big business with a seat at the table because they're not going to just be able to play downtown. They're going to have to play in our neighborhoods. If you want to use our financial tools and our financial resources and our support, you got to come bring what you have and the power that they have, the power of the purse and of the financial professionals that they have. They're going to have to bring that uptown to our neighborhoods.
And speaking of big business, here's one more question before we get out of here, and I give you time to give your closing statement of how people get in touch with your campaign. Okay. But this is a very important question based on what has happened recently. Mr. 1213 states, in the wake of the closing of Pepsi, what will you do, Mr. Perkins, to ensure that more factories won't leave the city? That's a very good question.
Oh, man, hey, 1213 is on it tonight, and he's on fire, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
So.
Well, let you know that a lot of people are paying attention as well.
Well, not only that, I mean, these are questions that require intellectual capacity to answer.
Right.
You can't just have you seen if they've been watching this on and watching some of the forums, you can't answer his questions with platitudes. You know what I'm saying? and with snacks and cookies. You can't answer this with this.
Right.
So Mr. 1213, and for the audience, what I would do as mayor, because I'm the only candidate, not only who's the only candidate as a lawyer, but I'm the only one that's built a business from nothing into a multi-million-dollar firm. I've helped other clients build businesses. I've represented big business. So what I'm going to do is, number one, there's a flavor, not only in the state of Michigan, around the country, but definitely in the city of Detroit, that we're anti-business, that we're not inviting the business. So I'm going to go to the business community and have that calls to the business community to see what it is that may be affecting them, because we don't know whether this closing of Pepsi was something that we understood that was going to happen. And we need to know more information about it. But I'm going to go to them and try to keep them there and incentivize them, keeping them there. But in exchange for incentivizing it, they got to go Detroit first. Detroiters got to get, because it makes sense. And see what the problem that I've had with the growth of downtown is that they've used our money to build downtown. $784 million that was used from tax incentives, tax abatements, and other tax captures that have come from our schools, our libraries, and our general fund that have been used for between 2017 and I believe 2023. So it's not, if anybody's old enough out there, there used to be a concept back in the 80s about trickle-down economics. Right. We know trickle-down economics don't work. And they're talking about there's no association between the development of downtown and what's happening uptown. Because if there was, there would be no clamoring in the streets for development. It would be no clamoring in the streets for attention and for resources and services and safer streets. It would already be happening.
Right. We got to get out of here, Todd. So, and sorry I cannot get to all the questions. Hopefully next Monday when I do my show, I can get you on again. I know Santil Jenkins will be on. I'll try to get my hour extended a little bit more next week. But as far as closing remarks, what do you want to say to the listeners to let them know you're the best fit for the mayoralship, and how can they get in touch with you over these next 8 days?
Well, they can call the campaign office, 313-756-9000. They can also call my law firm, 313-964-1702. They can call us, they can email us at info@perkinsforthepeople.com. They can also go to our website, perkinsforthepeople.com. But, before I talk about myself as a man for others through the Jesuit tradition, let me talk about the city of Detroit and what this means to us. I want people to vote. Now, I'm confident if people go to the polls, they're going to vote for me. I've been in this community. I'm a known quantity. They know I'm going to fight for them. They know I understand how to make these streets safe, how to make people, how to infuse and enthuse business to help build our economy, and us to be a part of that, a significant part of that. They know that. So go vote. Tell your neighbors to vote. Tell our kids to vote. Please, I cannot implore upon you even more. But again, now my selfish ask is, when you go to the polls, think Perkins for the people. Perkins for the people means progress for the people, and Perkins means purpose, because I am intentional about the purposes and the intent and the things that I have for the city of Detroit that I've been doing. And it's been a life work for me. And it's been a pleasure serving the people of the city of Detroit. And I only look to serve them more and in bigger ways and to do great things. And I promise you this, trust me when I say this, I'm going to make you proud.
So I want to thank you, Attorney Perkins, Candidate Perkins, for City of Detroit Mayor, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me this evening. Best of luck to you next Tuesday. You're definitely one of the formidable candidates for the job. And I'm not a resident of Detroit, but when people that live in Detroit, like my family, ask me about candidates and who they should vote for, I tell them do their research, and the research will show them who's the best for the job. And one thing that I would do if I was you, I would have ran the one question that was asked at that that forum with, Karen, Charlie, and James.
Yeah.
You knew the answer to the budget, and you had sitting council members that did not know the answer. Yeah. That was a commercial right there. So, I'm just saying.
We've been running that on the internet. Now we're going to get a commercial out before we were the first on commercials and the first on radio. But right now we've been meeting people at their door.
Right.
We've got more signs in the ground than anyone out there. So we probably put a commercial together, and we've got billboards out. But, we're meeting the people. And this is something that we've been doing. I've been doing as a lawyer. That's how I built my practice, person to person, and now we're going to do it, in getting into the mayor seat.
All right. I want to thank you, Attorney Perkins, Candidate Perkins, as well as all the viewers this evening. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to watch Detroit in Black and White presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown. And, good luck next Tuesday. And to the viewers, if you are Detroit residents, get out and vote next Tuesday, because they're already talking about low voter turnout. That does not help at all when the media is pushing a narrative of low voter turnout.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So good luck, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Peace, man.
All right, peace. So that was Attorney Todd Perkins, candidate for Mayor of Detroit. And to all that listened this evening, Miss Sheila, Zardo, Edward A., Derek Henry, Kenneth Powell, Miss Sheila, Mr. 1213. And again, I can't see who all's on Facebook. These are the ones. Derek Henry, these are the ones. Miss Sheridan, Jill Sheridan. Appreciate you all. Until next week, August 4th, the eve of the election. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Good night. Peace. God bless.